Welcome to the Lone Machinist podcast, the podcast where it's just you, your tools, and the work. No team, no backup. I'm Jamie from JSpec Engineering, and every episode we're tackling the highs and lows of flying solo in the machining world.
And I'm Curt from Confounded Machine, here to chat about everything it takes to make it as a one-man show in the shop. From grinding and turning to the struggles of running a one-person operation, we're sharing the stories, the tricks, and the challenges that come with going it alone.
If you're out there in the shop grinding away by yourself, or just thinking about taking a solo plunge, this show's for you.
So throw in your ear protection and let's talk about life behind the machine.
How's it good? How are you doing today?
I'm doing much better. How you doing, Jamie?
Yeah, carrying on. Had a bit of a long day. Was up early this morning to chat to John, the previous co-host. Yeah, so I chat with him on a Tuesday morning. So we chatted while we both did CAD work. Just shot the shit for like 2 hours, and then went and was a little bit productive this morning.
Sick. Oh, and sorry for the listeners if we're a day late on this one. I was feeling like death yesterday, so we had to postpone by a day. So we'll see how fast Jamie gets this out.
I know it'll go out tomorrow. It'll be 1 day behind when it normally goes out. Danica she wants it to be on a schedule, so it'll be out.
Right.
Well, I say it's going to be out tomorrow, but the people are only going to listen tomorrow, so it'll be out today when you're listening to it. No worries. I'm happy to shift the schedule around a bit to make it work for both of us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So it looks like you've had one busy week.
I've had a bit of a week. I see you've got some fun stuff to talk about as well. But yeah, let me start off because this one's been on there for 2 weeks now. The 3D printed shims. So I've got some parts that need a chamfer, but there's like a little land of maybe 8 millimeters, and then it starts tapering up. So in order to hold it in the fixture, I resin printed some shims to take up the gap so the part will sit level. But I also got a new resin printer this week because I could.
Wait, like another one, or the one that you got for like that prototyping job?
That one was annoying me, so I bought another one. Also cheap.
Did you return the previous, or?
No, I'm going to sell it to one of my mates.
Oh, gotcha.
So he had one, and then his LCD broke, and it was more expensive for a new LCD than to just buy a printer. So I told him I'll sell him this one at like half of what I paid for it, and then he's got a printer again. I bought I mentioned it last week. I bought the Creality Hollet. It's not Harlot, it's Hollet.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought that thing, and wow, night and day compared to the Anycubic Photon Mono 2 that I had. Like night and day. I've printed a bunch of stuff for my so much more reliable. Like I don't know if it's just Slicer that's better, but using Harlot box from Creality, got it dialed in. I was having to go to heavy supports so that the part wouldn't rip itself off the supports. I couldn't get the part off the supports. So I went to light.
Oh, nice.
And it just prints perfectly. You grab the part and you go, chunk, and rip it off the parts, off the supports.
Oh, beautiful.
It's amazing. Printed a whole bunch of gears and wheels for my combat robot because we've got a tournament this weekend. So been doing stupid things again. We've got 150 gram weight limit. So making that when you are kind of pushing the envelope on what's expected in a robot is a bit difficult. I've, on the third iteration, fully printed chassis, trying to cut weight. Build the robot. Okay, I'm still 10 grams over. Where can I take weight out? And I've switched from PLA to ABS, cut a whole lot of material out of the robot, and I think I'm going to make weight by like 0.5 of a gram.
That's not a lot of weight to have like a battery, motors, microcontroller, weapon.
It's not.
Some way.
So
it's
okay if you've got 2 motors, your 2 drive motors, and a lifting servo, and your battery and whatnot. Then it's easy. No, not Jamie. 2 drive motors, which are belt-driven 4-wheel drive, a lifter servo that isn't the 11-gram servo. It's a 20-gram servo that's 2S rated and like overpowered, and then another motor that drives a conveyor belt on the top of the robot. So if I can get under you, I can drag you on top of me and then drive you where I want. So it's something different because I retired Groper's actually over there on the shelf. That's my robot shelf.
Oh, cool.
With all the trophies on top of it. That's retired. I shared the plans on the group and I'm like, now I'm forced to retire that. So been messing with that, printed gears. Really, really liking the new printer. Also ran off 16 parts since I've had it for these guys. I've got a meeting tomorrow, and then they want me to print 50 parts before the 25th, which is going to be tight because that's like 3.5 hours a print, and I can only fit two of them on the bed. Well, it's 7 hours a print, and I can fit two at a time on the bed.
Are you using the slicer it came with, or are you using a third party, or?
No, the one it came with.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
I do seem to have picked up an issue with the firmware updates. I did a firmware update, and now I can't print right to the edge of the build platform. If I do, it takes like 20 mils off of this side and sticks it on that side of the build platform. It's really weird.
Oh, weird.
But it's just I haven't bothered diagnosing it yet. So yeah, just some funny business. But yeah, I've got to go to a meeting there tomorrow. They did their brake testing that they wanted to do. Now they want me to print 50 units for them to roll out for pre-production samples, basically, before they commit to an injection mold.
Nice. Well, that's a good. Yeah. I mean, good way to pay for the printer then.
Well, the printer's paid for already by the last version of this job.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, I'm like,
I guess they are pretty inexpensive.
I mean, yeah, like $300 is really for bugger all.
Yeah.
And then I'm running the Anycubic ABS-like resin, so it's got a bit of flex to it. It's actually really nice resin. I'm thoroughly enjoying using it. I've gone through a liter of it already in like 4 days.
I find all those Anycubics print so well. I switched over to Ceratec Blue series.
Oh,
just because it's like insanely durable, but it is a super huge pain to dial in. Like they're just crazy annoying to print. Once they print nice, they're fantastic. But
there's a blue wheel for the robot. I bought Ceratec Blue to make wheels, and I just cannot get the backside to print nicely. It's translucent, so eventually I just gave up. I'm like, I got the bottle pretty well priced. It can sit there and look pretty. I've got the ABS stuff working well now, and for what I needed for that, that's all it needs to do.
Yeah.
But I'm astonished. Like this one's only got a 50 micron spot or pixel size, which isn't great, but it's plenty good enough for what I need it for.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's all that matters.
I think my Anycubic one had like 20 micron pixel size. So the new one's actually lower res, but it does so much better of a job. It's also got dual linear guides for the Z-axis. Like actual square linear guides, like 15 size. It's robust.
Oh, nice.
It was the last one, so I bought the floor sample. I convinced them to sell it to me. But yeah.
Oh, so you just got it like locally or whatever?
Yeah, no, I went to the 3D printing store locally and just went and bought one. I actually know the agents for Creality stuff, but I needed a printer and I was in the area. I'm trying to remember why I was in the area. I went to drop something off or something, so I just went and bought it so that I had it. Because that is super convenient.
Slick.
But yeah, I see you've been prototype printing.
Yeah, I don't want to oust him, but I had a customer reach out that was doing some silicone casting, and he wanted to try it in some resin prints. And I was like, you know what? I have so much, like I print so little. My resin will like age out before I end up using it. So I'm like, just send me your files. I'll print them. I'll just charge you basically like nothing essentially. And if they work out for you, we can move forward with that. So he's pretty jazzed about that. So got that out of my hair, printed. They were big parts in my world, like, maybe fist sized. And my printer only prints about maybe 2 fists at max. So, but yeah, they came out really well. It's kind of fun to print something that I haven't printed before. I actually printed sheet metal samples this morning. Customer sent me 3 step files. Like, please, can you print these? Their customer wants to see them before they commit to which model they want. Only way to do it is to make press tools. So I 3D print, I resin printed them for them. I'll take them through tomorrow and be like, yeah, your 3 samples are. And then invoice them appropriately. Like, going to rip the ring a bit because I can. Because it's like, not a lot of people, like there's a million guys who will print stuff, but most of them it'll come out like shit. So you can afford, if you can do it well, you can afford to charge for it, yeah. Well, yeah, that's what even this guy said. He was chatting with me and he's like, yeah, the problem is, he's like, I have lots of friends that have resin printers, but he's like, it seems like every time I talk to them, they're like, oh, well, this is broken or this isn't quite working or I can print it for you, but it's just like, yeah, they are a bit tedious, but like.
I'm not that bad. My friend Dave wouldn't touch resin printed stuff because he sent some stuff out for resin printing and it came back like some of the worst prints I've ever seen. Like, you could have got better stuff off of an FDM printer. And then he had some delicate stuff printed and the guy's like, no, be careful. It's going to just shatter if you drop it. And I'm like, well, he's using the wrong fucking resin. Like,
Yeah.
you need to be using an appropriate material. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into to actually being useful at resin printing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I
So
was printing ABS on my printer this week as well. Like, I put a picture on our robot group, and the guy's like, "Oh, I also like to live dangerously because he doesn't have an enclosure." I'm like, "Dude, draft shield. You enable that and it prints fine. Like, you clean the PI bed and it's fine."
yeah.
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 Printers are super useful tools, especially for prototyping. Like, it can't be understated.
Absolutely.
Like, I know a few people who are listening who don't have 3D printers. Come to the dark side. It's super, super useful tool. So just like I used mine today, I printed I think it's actually on the list. Is it? No, it isn't. Okay. I'm making a new coolant manifold for
Oh, okay.
my
I saw
machine.
that in your stories.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I printed a part this morning. I just basically removed a lot of material, printed it, bolted it on, checked I had clearance because I'm now ordering aluminium to machine it out of aluminium. And then I'll anodize it purple because why not? And then I'll have my coolant move with the head of the machine. So when I run stupid things, I don't have to adjust my coolant lines.
Yeah, I was kind of jealous of that. I was like, I mean, mine works, but to get around my fourth, it'd be nice to have something like you have where it's like right on the
Yeah.
head. I'm like, yeah, that'd be
Does
nice.
your
Little.
spindle have bolt holes there? Mine conveniently had 2 bolt holes.
I don't know if it. I mean, it's got a gobs and gobs of room, but I don't know if it has bolt holes there. Maybe it does.
Put a
It has
camera and
something
do it
because it
for a
has a.
change.
Yeah, it has an air line right there, so I know there's
Yeah.
some spare
Because yeah, I've
space.
got an airline going into my spindle as well for a constant bearing purge. So my coolant block has to hop over that. But that's a minor detail. Like, that's just put a little machined out notch because I'm making it a 2-piece out of 25 millimeter alley block. Like, it's not exactly lightweight.
Nice.
And then I think I'm gonna run 2 coolant lines up next to the spindle because there's enough space. Have them stick out over the top and loop back to the current coolant pickups, and then just
Oh,
spring
okay.
them to the roof. Like, put a fucking bungee
Yeah,
cord. It'll be good enough. Like,
sure.
I don't want it because I could go down and under, but then there's a loop that could hook something potentially.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see that. That is going to be engineered very much YOLO. I'm going to go buy some fittings, buy some pipe, and just YOLO it together when it gets to the time that I need to put it together.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been like super like cognizant about with this machine is trying to keep all my tools like close to the exact same length, so I never have to adjust the nozzles. Like they point in
Yeah.
one spot, like they should be good for every tool I run.
So
So
I run into the issue where I run a long like a long part, and then I'll slitting saw off, and then the coolant's good here but
oh
bad here. So I've actually got
right,
fan nozzles, but then you're blowing right on the air purge of the bearings with coolants by the time you get to the bottom of the
Ugh.
bar, which I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like
yeah,
the idea of that. So I turned some little
yeah.
stainless ball units to squirt coolant, and I'll build the thing out over the next coming while because I've got an alley order that's got to go in tomorrow. I'm just waiting for an updated quote.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll get to why I'm ordering alley later in the podcast because some smart dick decided to reinvent something. But yeah, so
That's
we went to ProPack today. So let me blast through all these topics quickly because most of them are from ProPack. So ProPack is
okay. Sounds good.
is a packaging expo. So there was Food Pack, ProPack, and Print Pack. It's like all in one. It was bigger than Machine Tool Africa, like 3 times the size. So Danik and I went through there today and had a look at all sorts of fun things. Met up with the guys from Argus who actually phoned me last week. They finally got the lead that was generated at IMTS and phoned me about that like last week. I'm like, are you going to be at ProPack? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I will see you there. So I went and met up with that guy today. And then it dawned on me that I can use the Argus dryland products for my part loading solution. I don't need to use linear guides. Like, why not
Oh
give
yeah,
the dryland stuff a try? I've never actually played with
yeah.
it. And for what it's doing, it's not huge loads and not hugely fast. So I've got their catalog. I'm going to go through that and have a look and see, give it a bash. Like, I've got nothing to really lose. And then, SMC were also there. They do a vacuum generator. As you know, the normal Venturi vacuum generator, you pump air, it makes vacuum. They've got one that
Yes.
has
Yeah.
a built-in pressure switch. So if your system is airtight, it will pull a vacuum and switch off. and
Oh,
then switch back
clever.
on if there starts being a leak, and switch on and off, on and off. We're playing with it at the show today. So
D-
I've asked the guy
did it
for a
work okay?
seemed to work fine for their demo.
Yeah, I
Like,
wonder how airtight those systems end up being.
so
But
you
yeah, that's a
start
good idea.
leaking, and it'll pulse on and off to hold the
Hmm.
value where, because it's got a little digital thing. You set
Right.
the what you want the vacuum to be, so you're not
Right.
sucking air the whole time.
Right. Yeah, you're not just
So, and they reckon
taxing
20
your compressor.
milliseconds back on. So if vacuum starts dropping, 20 milliseconds, that's what their solenoid switching time is.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
I've
good.
got a manual from them, or a catalog, and then sends off an RFQ this afternoon. So hopefully I'll get a quote in the next couple of days for that. The guys seem to think they weren't super expensive, which I find hard
Hmm.
to believe. But if it's, say, wait, hang on, Imperializer, let's go to Freedom Units here, do conversion. So if the thing costs me $200 or $250, and it
Yeah.
means my compressor runs barely ever, as opposed to having to buy another compressor for $250, I may as well buy the Venturi. No,
Yeah.
it's, yeah. I'd
That's the reason
rather,
I haven't really looked at them.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like even their inline Venturis burn 13 liters a minute of air. It's a lot of air. Like, and that's the problem. Like this one will burn, I think, 20 liters a minute, but once it's at vacuum, it burns 0, which is really cool. So yeah, we'll see. I've sent the guy a RFQ to ask him for a price on that and the inline ones, because I need an inline one, or I can use the one I built for sucking the bar pusher back in the MCO, because I'm building the
Oh,
external
okay.
bar pusher for it. So I want to be able to retract the bar pusher without having to shove a stick down the spindle and poke it.
Yeah.
It works, but I'd rather be fancy, because we
Sure.
ran 120 parts there of 25 mil material, and I would really like that to be a bar pusher.
Yeah. That's how I do it in my hardened. I put the stock in the front of the spindle and just basically
Yeah,
push the piston all the way back. But I'm loading like 2 bars a day, not like one
yeah.
every 10 minutes. So
Well,
it's
that's the
not a
thing.
big
Like
deal.
these, I think we got to load one every 30 minutes or so. So it's going to become
Yeah.
tedious. So I'd rather
Yeah,
have it
totally.
just retract by itself. So I've got all the rest of the plumbing requirements. I just need a vacuum generator. Well, I have one, but for now it's gonna get used for a different job. Depending on how quickly I can get this SMC unit, will determine whether I use it on this batch of parts or whether I'll buy it and use it on the next batch. Because
Nice.
I have
Well,
a vacuum generator, but it doesn't have enough. The surface area isn't enough on the parts I want to run. But now I'm going to run, instead of one part, I'm running 12 parts at a time. So I've got a whole bed full of parts. So the vacuum area is greater. And then I'm going to just break the parts. So I won't cut through. I'll leave 2 of a mil, and then I'll just put it through a router with a chamfer bit, and just
right. Yeah.
following chamfer bit, chamfer the edges. Problem solved. But yeah, I still need to build the
Nice.
fixture for that. That's one of this week's many things that I have to get done.
Nice. Yeah, vacuum fixturing is the key. I mean, my old job, we ran big like gantry CNC routers, and they had huge like 20 horsepower vacuum pumps, and it just pulls through MDF, like just a sheet of MDF, and it pulls vacuum through it. And then we'd put like sheets of PVC or aluminum right on it. And same thing, you
Yeah.
skin it by like 10 thou, run it through router when you're done. But yeah, it's just no work holding. Throw the sheet on, hit the vacuum, boom,
Yeah.
you're good to go. Like
It's
they're
great.
pretty incredible
Yeah, so
until
I
you
want
break through the
to.
vacuum.
So this, where all the through holes are, I'm putting O-rings and holes. So I'm not actually going to hold it super well. I'm going to just hold it with like four bars of vacuum to hold the
Right.
plate down,
Yeah.
and then everything else is like in between there, all the holes and stuff I must put. Because again, it's going to be 100 parts now, and then potentially 500 or 1,000 next month. So I'm trying to build out my
Cool.
processes like that. That is my thing, build out processes. But yeah, then we saw packaging stuff. They had a really cool cardboard crinkling machine. That's the only way I can describe it. So you buy a roll of crap paper, like fucking craft paper, and it literally pulls out the center of the roll, goes through this machine, and shoots out lengths. So they were saying it was. Hang on, so I just want to clear this. 1500. So it's $81 a roll for this crap paper, And then if you buy 10 rolls, you get the machine for free.
Okay. So
It's
it's like a
shitload.
void fill. Like
Yeah,
a void fill machine. Like it's
Yeah, it's a shitload of paper.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
I'm thinking profits might need to look a bit lower, so I might just buy one, just buy the paper, get the machine, and write it off as business expense. And then I have paper for the rest of my life, basically.
Yeah. Easier to store that way too, I suppose.
Well, it's in these big ass rolls, and then I'm looking now at how I'm going to package the pallet systems reliably. Now, I chatted to one of my customers who ships stuff around the world, and unfortunately, they use the same solution I have, which is by far not the cheapest.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
significantly not the cheapest. It's like $200 to send a parcel to the US per pallet
Yeah, it's
system.
significant. That's rough.
It's not a small amount. I looked into what's it? What ShipStation, the one we spoke about last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
not supported. Yeah, because I live in the
no.
arse end of Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm just quickly checking here. But yeah, and then gum tape machines. Saw gum tape. They'll do custom printed gum tape, which is kind of cool. I was just ogling all the fancy machines today at ProPack, and they'll also sell me gum tape without the machine, and I can just make my own friggin' printed machine that wets the gum tape, because the machines weren't cheap. Like, if I will probably never recoup the cost on that. It's like $500 for a gum tape machine. It's silly. That was the manual one. Yeah, it was a manual one.
Wow.
They apparently have cheaper options. But it's still a bit brutal. Okay, there we go. I got sent the pricing for shipping. No, wait, hang on. 3625. $195 for shipping.
Ugh. Yeah. That's brutal.
It is a bit rough. So no, it's discontinued and replaced with. Oh, okay, cool. So the shipping is brutal, but I think we have a way to eat up some of that, so it's not all going to be passed on to the customer. But we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But how's your screw machining going?
Screw machining is going great. That's I was actually super impressed. So I just ordered all the tooling to do the Torx milling this morning, so it should be here in a couple days, which is nice because that's all made locally. Like the tooling is made locally, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's from De Boer.
Yeah, I love their tooling. I've switched all my tooling over to it because their pricing is right in line. It's made in Canada. Like I'm not subject to all the weirdness going on right now. And that's part of the reason I want to make my own screws too. Is just
I'm just looking now. I got the quote back from SMC, like literally as we're talking. Yeah. So the guy was wrong. It wasn't 2,000 Rand. It was 4,609. $250 for the fancy one that switches on and off, and $13 for the inline one that is just a inline Venturi.
Yeah, it's a pretty big increase.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, cool. I know I can probably still justify that, pretty easily.
If it drops the duty cycle way down, I'd be interested in it. But if it drops the duty cycle down from 100% to 80%, it's like, whatever. Like I'll just suck.
I think if you've got good vacuum sealing, you're gonna hold it all day. Like it's gonna go down and then it's just gonna sit there. Until you poke through it.
You could probably also put a tank like in line with it, and then use the tank in vacuum as opposed to in pressure.
Tank. Yes, so that you've got a bit of a booster.
Yeah, I mean, then it's still gonna run, and then you're not really changing your duty cycle, but you're letting your compressor cool.
You've got a bit of a buff if you break through. It's not gonna instantly die. But anyway, sorry, you were saying you ordered your tools.
Screw machine. Ordering all the tools, machining all my screws, just because why not? I can machine it. Like the lathe has downtime; it's just sitting here now. So I made about 30 or 40 screws. That was the first thing to do is turn them to see if I could actually turn them, because it's a long sticko. Like it's a 256 size screw with a 10 millimeter thread.
Diameter on that? roughly.
256 would be like 2 millimeters, just over 2 millimeters.
Okay,
So
256. Yeah,
roughly ish.
okay. Yeah, that's not
Um,
unreasonable. I've made a bunch of
no.
M2 and M2.5 stuff.
Yeah, and just getting like a nice reasonable stick out. And anyways, yeah,
Yeah,
they machined beautifully. Like I had no issues with it. I kind of Swiss turned them. I basically just knocked it all off in one go, just to kind of maintain rigidity.
yeah,
And yeah, threaded it and got all my chamfers and everything nicely, and they popped off the machine beautifully. So now I'm going to make a little fixture. Actually, that's where your little 0 point is going to eventually come in handy. But I'm going to make just a
okay.
temporary fixture
Apparently, I need
where
to
I'll
pull my
screw
finger out of my ass with that one and get it off
Oh,
to you
no
then.
rush. No rush. I got lots of prototyping to do. I'm gonna make a cheap. I'm gonna make a cheap block
Yeah,
just to actually make
just
sure
little,
this all works.
yeah,
Yeah, because I'm like trying to thread them in and make it so that they're gonna be tedious to put into the fixture, but that's the whole point of making two
yeah,
fixtures is just load one in, let it run for an hour or two, and then load the next one.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm excited to see how that works. Like the end mill I have to use is a 10 thou end mill, so it'll be the smallest end mill I've ever ran.
yeah.
But yeah, curious to see how it
That's
works.
tiny. I need to get used to.
It's real tiny. It was a
I don't know.
less than 0.3, I think. 0.2 mil.
Yeah,
3 mil.
0.25.
Yeah, so
0.254.
it's
There
it's
is
tiny.
also a working imperializer in your box
I'm so excited.
and a
I'm
couple
so
blank
excited.
bods, so you can make a custom. And then
We're gonna do
I
something
need
fun
to
for the podcast.
tumble these so that I can send these to you. I want to send you a couple of them.
Sick. The proper
Yeah,
ruler.
the proper ruler. I've got some stupid ideas. It's going to be a 376.2s.
Nice.
Yeah, like I'm going to put the dumbest things I could possibly put on there, just to annoy the Imperial users. But yeah, dude, so yeah, the screw. I'm very keen to see how. But I mean, you got 20K on your spindle, so machining with that size end mill
Yeah.
shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna set up the cam probably later today and just yeah, I mean for the most part, like I'll block out the middle of the screw with the drill. I'll block
Yeah,
off the corners of the Torx with the drill, and then the little 30-second is
you'll
gonna come through and clean it, and then a 10 thou is gonna do the last little bit where I can't quite
yeah.
get in there with smaller tools. So I think it should
Okay.
work. I think it should
Yeah,
work.
no, it should work. It's also like, yeah, if you can make your own screws, then you can do silly things on them too.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. Is like I
Yeah,
can chamfer them. I want to put fancy decorations in the bottom, so like people look under a microscope, be like, "Whoa!" Like you put a floor finish in there. It's like, yeah, I
yeah,
did because I can. And the machine
exactly.
is sitting right now; it's not running, so it could easily be
Yeah,
running screws at night, or like it's such a low risk thing. Like, and I mean the screws, the hardness can crank out a screw in like I don't know a minute.
yeah,
So it's not, and titanium is it's not that expensive for the. I mean, it's mainly like it's way
yeah,
it's cheaper to buy them. It's still cheaper. Like screws cost me about $4 each to buy them.
yeah.
But I also have a bunch of machine time and a bunch of titanium that I'm not using, odds and
So
ends. So,
yeah, you may as well make fancy things from
yeah,
it.
they will technically
100%.
cost me more, but I don't know. I like to make
That's
stuff. It's fun. It's
fun.
fun.
Yeah, making stuff
Yeah,
is fun.
make stuff.
Like I'm
Totally.
busy. I'm busy running through a bunch of drone parts now. Tilt mechanisms for a VTOL. Speaking of Roger, we need to talk. You put bloody fillets on a chamfer. Now I went to program it today, and it's chamfered, and then the top and bottom of the chamfer have bloody fillets on them. So I ended up having to surface it because apparently Roger believes in surfacing everything. And I know he listens to this. So yeah, thought I'd call him out for that. And then yeah, busy. That's what I was finishing up now. I mean, each part's got 40 minutes of machining into it, and I still have another 1 or 2 ops to do on them. And it's small little parts. Nothing stupid. But yeah, I'll get those knocked out, and then those will go into being production parts. So that's why I'm putting in all the effort, made all the fixturing and stuff today for that while going gallivanting.
Sick.
But yeah, and then got other folding arm mechanisms that I'm busy with for another drone that you basically screw off a big nut and then the arm folds. And a heat sink for that drone that I also want to try and knock out this week. That I can just get that stuff
Nice.
off the books.
Nice.
But yeah. Last night I was making aluminium dowel pins on the.
I saw that.
Yeah, 17 millimeters long, 3 diameter.
Okay. Yeah. So that's
Same
decent
Swiss
aspect
style.
ratio.
Yeah, turn down the. I rough it down and then I turn it. I can't go quite to finish, so I go down to like from 8 down to I think 5, and then I do a finish pass. Then I just first one comes off, mark it, and then I just program a taper, and then it compensates for the deflection. And done. Knock them off like that. They were all within like 10 microns. They don't need to be. They're getting pressed into a 3D print, but yeah, they're lighter than a screw. Yeah.
That's actually one thing I wanted to... Do you have a CCMT holder somewhere in your possession?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Why?
Okay, I'll send you... pardon?
Why?
I'll send you some of those... I'll send you some of those Tungaloy inserts I use.
Oh,
yes. Next time I send you something.
Well, yeah, I use CCMT 09s in my main production run.
Okay, I think that's what I'm using as well.
Yeah, I would think they'd be the 09s. Yeah, the 06s are freaking tiny.
Yeah, these ones, I'm pretty sure they're all 9. Anyways, I'll send you some because I was roughing some aluminum just on the manual lathe last week to make some fixtures for the 4th. And I was like, I was honking on it pretty good, like taking, what would be like 3-4 mils off per side and probably equivalent to like maybe 15 or like, what would it be, 15 thou per rev.
15 thou, 0.015. So yeah, 0.4, that's a decent feed, 0.38.
Yeah, so I was honking on, and it just like super tiny little itty bitty like C's, like just it breaks chips beautifully.
Because right now I'm having to do, I'm having to use pecking, like on the M car I was using pecking, and the whole machine's vibrating because I'm doing 1 millimeter peck and then 0.1 retracts. But then it runs unattended. It doesn't make long shavings, and I can actually run it like that with a bar pusher and not worry.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
But yeah, that's a DCGT on that specific job. But I'll check out. I'm sure there's a Tungaloy agent somewhere here in South Africa.
Yeah, anyway, I have a bunch of them, and I don't actually go through them that fast. And they're decently inexpensive for me to get. So like,
sweet.
I didn't know they work in aluminum so well, but yeah, they work. I think that PSF chip breaker, that's just the key. That thing works so well. Because I'm running
just Chinese inserts from BB Tool on AliExpress, and they're running brass. It's a non-issue. And I mean, I'll run 4,000 or 5,000 parts on a single insert, on a single side of a single insert, because I'm cutting brass.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, but we're now running a bit more aluminium on the MCO. And well, tomorrow I've got to set up for stainless. I ran stainless for like a week on it, and now I'm going to carry on running stainless. That poor little machine. Yeah. It's the finishes coming off it are beautiful. Like for a 35 or 36-year-old machine, it's amazing. Like Bertha is starting to show her age. Like the surface finishes I'm getting off Bertha on interpolated moves are getting worse and worse. But the majority of what it does is straight lines and threading, so it's fine.
Is it?
Yeah, there's going to be a conversation. It's dovetail with Turkite and linear guides. I redid the Turkite, but I never redid the linear guides. The guides are still poked. I just didn't have the money to do it when I retrofitted it. Again, it's going to be a conversation of, okay, do I throw a bunch of money at this machine and limp along for a while, or do I just put that money aside and buy a machine to replace it?
Right.
Because if we're planning on making the pallet systems in any meaningful quantity, I'm going to need a better lathe, preferably with live tools, so that I can take 3 of the components and make them single operation components or very close to it. Because right now the landing pad is lathe, then mill, then grinder. That could go straight lathe grinder. The gripper could be lathe and then 1 op on the mill, not lathe, mill, 5 ops on the mill. And then the diamond pins I would like to make in-house because they are the single most expensive item on that bill of materials. Like, they cost more than the raw material for any of the other components. They are silly expensive. So I would like to look at making those in-house, but I don't know that the MCO is going to manage holding that in hard turning, like holding those tolerances.
Yeah.
So fair. I'd rather buy a new lathe to do that. But anyway, that's a problem for another day.
Well, yeah, and you'll know in the next few months here to see what kind of response you get and kind of scale from that. Yeah.
Yeah, my plan is to get these out at some point in the future, the samples, and then we're going to go and I've redesigned the thing because why not?
That V4 is so sexy. Like if that comes to market, the V3 is, I'm going to bolt it to my bench. It's going to be my pallet. It's going to be my unloading spot.
Oh,
And
speaking
I'll
of
buy a
unloading
gang of the
spots.
fours.
So speaking of the unloading spots, they're on my printables. There is a file
Yeah,
for the dry dock.
I saw that. Yeah,
Because
that's cool.
obviously naming. It's 3 pieces you print, and I two-way tape mine to my toolbox, and that's my reload station. And the nice thing, where it locates is not the same set of surfaces that it locates in the pallet in the system. So if you get a chip or something on your reloading station, or you vigorously put it down, it doesn't ding the main critical surfaces.
That's
Like
smart.
a bit of thought went into this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
you don't need it positionally perfect when you're loading
No,
parts into it. So that makes
exactly.
sense.
I want to machine
That's
them on
intelligent.
HDPE as well, but that's a later down the road problem. But yeah, I was chatting to Justin, and he pointed out that I should probably just put the Lang studs in and machine the op2 using a Lang base. So now I want a Lang base to make my pallet systems, because like the thing is, the whole stack up is like, I think it's 48.5 millimeters, and I can buy 50 mil material. So I don't have a lot of material to play with. So my plan is I was doing it the other way around. And then Justin was like, hang on, you got these Lang studs. Why don't you machine that first? Put it on an anchor point, put it in your anchor point system, and machine the second side. So that's the plan.
Nice.
I'm waiting for RFQ, and then I can place the order for material for 2 more of the V4 bodies and the pallets to make the V4 bodies. And then I'm going to convert my V3 into a V4, because that's the thing, you can, mechanism wise, it's identical. So in theory, I could send you a new body and you could transplant it if you really wanted.
I'll just buy new ones. I'll support you. I don't give a fuck.
The thing is, they're also
I don't
going to
care.
be super consistent on height. So
Right,
the drawing's still going to have a comma 1 tolerance, but we're going to hold way tighter than that, because now our tolerance will come from the grinding of the pad, and that will hold really tight. So that will probably try and hold like a 10 micron tolerance on it. And then the bodies will be set to the Lang plate when we get to that point. So I will end up buying a Lang plate, because if I've got to make lots of them, the anchor point isn't quite rigid enough.
Gotcha. Yeah.
For how I want to rough it. I want to evaporate that material. So we're going to see.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good test, because that's how I'm going to start. The other reason I want to get a Lang plate is because then I get a 90-degree adapter for it, and I can put them on side with their studs and do the side haul, because there's one side operation I need to do on the things, because I internally ported everything.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I got fancy. Like, it's got a little like O-ring that sits in a little curved groove. I'm pretty happy with the V4. We'll see when I manufacture one, but I'm pretty happy with that, because with it being the Lang stud compatible, you could machine your own. You could buy 4 of the units and just slap them all on your own base plate. So you could machine a base plate in your machine perfectly flat, and then just bolt 4. Well, you'd have to take it off to bolt them on, but bolt 4 units on, and there'll also be markings for internally porting them. So through your own methods, you could port them. You wouldn't have to have a pipe sticking out.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So
I like that idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of background stuff going on to get that all properly sorted out.
Yeah, because I was kind of trying to debate that too, because like I very much like the system will work for 90. Well, it worked for 100% of my production, but I'm like, I want to be able to a way to swap in. That's why I had you machine the bottom for a vise right now, because I'm like, I need vices for certain things, especially like prototyping. I need vices, but yeah, having something where you can have your own plate machined, where you could pop them off like repeatedly with all the pneumatics already in there, that'd be sick. Because then you could make attachments for vices and drop a vice in there if you need to.
So the porting there would get like that's the thing. I want to. It's now gotten lower as well. It's now shorter by, I think it's shorter by like a half an inch, somewhere around there, because it's now 49 millimeters total stack up height as it sits on your table. So it's compared to 62 mils, that's 13 mils. That's half an inch shorter, which I think for guys with smaller machines, I think that's going to be critical, that they're not losing half their travel to a pallet system. But yeah,
Yeah, I
the
think for
big
me and
issue
you,
now,
it's
yeah, for us it's a non-issue. We've got
way too
robo-drill
much
style
Z.
machines. Yeah,
Yeah,
way too much
yeah,
Z. I mean, I've got an 80 millimeter riser in my machine at all times where my vices go.
yeah.
Otherwise, I can't chamfer my vise. Like the bottom rails of my vise, I can't hit them with my standard chamfer tool. So yeah, I ran into that a few times. Now everything's just lifted, and that's fine. Like I mean, even my anchor points on I think 60 or 70 millimeter riser, so that it's at a not stupid height.
Yeah, that's
But
why all
yeah,
my tools are
that's
100 mil gauge length because I can
exactly.
just reach. Like I'm doing all my machining at like 95% of machine travel because it's just like right at the bottom.
So like now when I buy more tool holders, I buy the 100 millimeter ones, especially for the smaller tools. Like for the 4 millimeter and smaller, everything's in 100 millimeter lengths. And then I've got some 60s and 70s that I have my bigger tools in because I want those closer to the bearings.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing what these little machines can do. I mean, I was running stuff today. My 10 millimeter rougher is nearing end of life. Having removed 250 kilograms of material, I think it deserves a break.
That's
The
nuts.
one
That's
the
nuts.
one tip of the flute is gone. It's now a 2.5 flute. Still works, and they're expensive, so not replacing it if I don't have to. That thing's done some serious material removal, like a shitload of
That's
material
awesome.
removal. Did 100 kilos in 4 days.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, and then I was machining Tufnell today. Your favorite kind of material, dusty as hell.
No, pass.
I've actually
Unsubscribe.
I'm busy in the process of designing and quoting with these guys to do big Tufnell parts, like 680 millimeters long by like 300 mil blocks in the LK.
Ooh.
Because I have a coolant vacuum, I run with coolant,
Yeah,
and I filter it afterwards.
I guess. Yeah.
I literally on
Yeah.
this job, I will probably I'm not going to be gentle. Let's put it that way. They want me to put this in my machine. Gentle is not the word that is going to be used to describe my pricing on this. I'm going to rip the fucking ring because basically it should be ongoing production work as well. And if that's the case, I want to buy another machine in a very short time span because the LK is going to get chewed out by that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it
Like,
pays for it, then go nuts. But
well, that's the thing. Like, who was I chatting to? I had a customer here today. They've got a little sensor that has resettable fuses in it. They obviously only reset a certain number of times. And they've got like 1,000 of these units that are now bricked. So they were heating up and picking at it with a screwdriver to get to these components that are potted in, desoldering and soldering in new ones. And they're like, could we possibly machine this? I'm like, bring me samples, come stand with me for an hour. Let's dial this process in. So I dialed it in for them today, 27 seconds. Pocket machined, so machined down to
nice.
above the other components, and then a little pocket to the components they want to replace, and half the component machined off as well. And then they just heat it up, pick at it, resolder the things that they've got a workflow that doesn't take them 45 minutes of picking at the potting compound.
Oh, that works out then.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, they'll bring like 500 of those. Obviously not going to charge a lot for them because it's 20 seconds of machining. But yeah, then I make my wife stand there and load them. It's the best. The bar loader, or in this case, the sensor loader. Put her to work.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm busy mulling over how I'm going to do the bar pusher on the MCO because that can also work on the on Bertha. Similar setup. But I'm thinking it's gonna end up just being. I want to rearrange the workshop a bit, so I've got a shelf that needs to get yeeted, and I can slide the MCO into the workshop more, and then I can run the bar pusher with permanently in place. Because I'd like to just have a nice sheet metal bracket made, and then have it bolt on top there that I can adjust and tram it in, and it just lives there permanently. Like,
why don't you? Because you can pull with both those machines. Why are you not pulling? Like, why are you building a pusher?
Pulling with the MCO is a bit tricky.
Oh, okay.
The MCO, if you use a DCMT 11 insert, so it's a slightly bigger DCMT insert. The tip of the insert is inside the turret. If you want to index the turret. Like the back clearance is like maybe 25 millimeters. It's super, super
Okay.
tight on the backside, like silly tight. Like there's
Okay.
actually scratches in the sheet metal from the previous owner where they had
Oh,
something
okay. I got
sticking out a little bit too far. It is insanely close. So I could probably build a puller, but I like bar pushers.
fair enough. Yeah.
It was so it wasn't in it wasn't ideal when the spindle took forever to turn on and off. Now that it's a servo, it's super quick. So it might be something to look into. You have a point, damn it. The only annoying thing is making the bar pusher or bar puller, because the way the M-Code tools attach is a bit annoying to do. I think last time I ended up laser cutting some little angles so that I could set it at 30 degrees, because it's not 45, it's freaking 30 degrees. Because it's flat then with just holes at an angle that pull it into the corner of the turret's cutout. But yeah, that might be a not shit plan. I like that idea.
Or you could do it like super hacky and just like use a parting tool and machine a groove into it, like run a macro that just cuts a, whatever, half-inch groove into something, or, and then just use like a little V piece of sheet metal or something to pull your part.
Curt, you are
Different
a
ways to
very
skin
bad
a cat.
influence. You are a very, very bad influence, because I have a spot in the material that I could actually do that. The problem is mounting it in the turret. So if I'm going to have to go and make something to mount it, I've got a dead stop. I can just unbolt that and bolt in something else.
Yeah.
It's a case of, in my mind, it's this huge ordeal. In reality, it's 10 minutes.
No, totally. Yeah, it's how everything
It's
is.
literally, if I put my mind to it, in 10 minutes, I can program and be machining a bar pusher. But in my head, it's this massive task that is, that's why I haven't done it, because it's this massive task when it really isn't.
Yeah,
But that tends to happen. Because, bar pulling's easy. Stop, pull, clamp, go.
Yeah, especially if you're turning it off, or if you don't care about the material, you burn a little bit of it, like whatever.
It's also a little bit more reliable than pushing, because it's a 5C, so it pulls back. So if I've got it in something, it's going nowhere. It'll be exact, and I can probably eke another part out of every bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, you can pull right, like, even mine has, like, it goes into the 5C when it pushes, but I still, like, I mean, my remnants. They're tiny. They're like 4 and 3 inches, but still, it's like,
I have long remnants, because I was trying to think now. My average remnant length is probably 100 millimeters, 120 mils, depending on what material it is.
Okay, that's sizable.
It's decent. Yeah, decent, but then it gets put on a shelf usually, or in a bucket. And then, like, I had a job come through and I literally ran the whole job out of remnants, because I'm not going to set it up. It's 20 parts. I'm not going to set it up to run automatically, so I may as well use remnants.
No, totally.
Like, I actually had a job come in this week that I quoted. The guys want 30 millimeter diameter washers, tapped M6. So I've got some old scrap material. I don't have any 30 mil bar stock. So I'm just going to manual chuck 3 or 4 parts at a time, turn the OD, chamfer, part, just set up 2 tools and just let it make blanks. And then they'll go into the LK and I'll thread mill the threads in there quickly.
Nice.
I need to. Well, I told them like 2.5 weeks lead time, because I was going to laser cut the blanks, and then I was like, hey, wait, I have material. No.
Yeah, no, same thing. I keep all my offcuts, and then either, like, a while ago, I sent him, there's another pen maker. He's like, I want to play with titanium. I was like, well, have I got a deal for you? I'm like, pay for shipping. I'll send you a box of titanium. So he was like, that's just so sweet. He's like, now I can experiment. I was like, exactly. It gets it out of my hair. I keep saving it for a rainy day, but I get a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a couple of mates who've got small lathes, like hobby lathes and things. And I'm like, come get material. Do you want PTFE? Do you want brass? Do you want mild steel? Do you want aluminium? Just come and take. Because if you don't take, it's going in the bin or to scrap. It's one of those things where, I mean, even the torque splits I make, every, we cut it to half meter. So every 500 mils, we get 1 part that we throw away worth of material. But I'm not going to stand and load those 1 part at a time to save that. The job is quoted at 30 parts per length of material. We could, in theory, get we could get 36 parts out, but I'm not going to hand load those for the extra effectively a minute apart. No, just throw it in the bin and get paid for the scrap. Like,
Yeah.
automate everything.
I know, even looking at these, when I was making these screws, I'm like, oh, I have all these little offcuts that'd be perfect for screws. I could just, I'm like, what, load one in every minute, 30 seconds and come back. I was like, nah, I'll find another use for him. Just put a
Yeah.
brand new
No,
bar in. And I was like, it's cheaper, whatever. I don't
yeah.
care. My time is more expensive than the material.
No, that's it. Like, if you don't have to stand at the machine and baby it, it's all the better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at automating stuff. Danica ran probably about half the parts that we ran out of Alley, but she ran it while I did other stuff, and then she had to go out. So I came and I stood by the machine, and like I was jumping around and pulling it manually for now because I didn't feel like, well, I didn't build a bar puller or a bar pusher yet. So you just run them one at a time. It's only 120 parts. It's not the end of the world. But when that becomes 500 parts, it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, high quantity things are really shitty to load one at a time.
No, totally. Yeah.
Like,
I'll wait till my girl.
I don't think I ordered material today.
When my girls are older, then they can have a job. Sit and load single parts into the lathe and make screws for dad.
My nephews came past yesterday, and the small one, he's 3. He must have been about 2. He was on my hip. I went into the workshop. I was running something, and he wanted to push buttons. So I loaded something up, and I pushed the green button, and then the machine starts running. So then he was in there a few months later, and the machine was off. I'm going to push the button. He pushes the button and looks at the door to see if the machine's moving. He was so ecstatic. Danica was letting him, she was getting him to unclamp the spindle so she could pull the bar forward, clamp the spindle, and then hit pause so it would run away, and then hit start. This Lighty was so excited to make the machine run. Like, he was having the time of his life. Yeah. Little does he know, I'm going to conscript him and make him run thousands of parts for me.
Yeah, you're just training. Exactly.
Exactly. He thinks it's fun, but it's training. No, I mean, yeah, we churn out a lot of, or Danica churns out a lot of parts. I get her set up, and then the machines just run. She knows how to check tolerances, and I spec what the tolerances are, and she keeps an eye on it. And if it starts drifting, I come and I tweak it. Like, she was tweaking tolerances on some jobs at one point, but it's just easier if I do it. Like, we're setting up tomorrow for a job that's, you can see if it goes out by comma 1 of a mil. You can see in the part that it's not right because it's different shape. Yeah, it's clearly visible after like 20 parts. You can see if it's in or out of spec, but it's also got a wide open tolerance. So it's got like plus minus comma 1. So I try and hold it in the middle within like 20 to 50 microns. And usually we hold it there, like we'll run until the insert chips, and then we'll carry on running. And then it's super consistent. Because it is 316, so it's a bit of a bastard to work with. But yeah, we're going to run off a whole pile of those in the next few days.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then, okay, yeah, let's get back to your things. You've got all the things, and you've told us about none of them.
Yeah, I got a whole wackadoo of stuff.
Canadizing all the things.
Oh, that's just me basically moving every one of my... I mean, I've done a really good job at moving every one of my vendors to Canada just for reasons of I live here, so I'm going to support everyone that I can. So over the last 2-3 years, I've just been like, oh, material I get from... I mean, honestly, my material is probably made in a foundry overseas somewhere and then shipped to the US, and then I bet the US comes to Canada. Like, Canada doesn't smelt their own titanium, as far as I understand. No. I think there's like 2-3 facilities in the world that do that. Anyways, besides the point, I try to get everything I possibly can from Canada. And just lately, this has kind of pushed me even harder to just get everything I can from Canada. So I think I'm just waiting on a quote from a local spring manufacturer. Actually, local as in like I can throw a baseball and hit them. I think they're going to, I think they're going to make the springs for my pens, which is cool. Cause then I can, I'm pretty sure they're going to be custom springs, and I can then pick my own. Tweak it. Yeah, I can get my own spring weights, so I can have a few different weights that people can pick. Because people have asked like for heavier springs, because I have a pretty light spring in my pen. Some people like them heavier. So anyways, that'll be exciting. So switched all my like stickers over to Canadian companies. I'm just trying to move everything I possibly can, because like I said, there's so much weirdness in the world right now. Why not?
No, 100%. Like I'm just thinking now about what I get locally. I don't know where BMG get their stuff from, their O-rings and their balls and whatnot.
Right.
I don't actually know where the die springs, I doubt they're made here. But all the aluminium is made in South Africa. Like Hulamin,
that's cool.
refine it, locally. As far as I know, the K110 tool steel is also local. Yeah, the screws are not. The screws are from England because I really like the fancy Acu screws. It's
Yeah.
either England or China. I'd rather support England. No,
Yeah.
the packaging is all local because it's locally manufactured. It's pointless shipping around a cardboard box, especially when it's flat.
Yeah.
So that's all local. Yeah, it's interesting to think about, like where your
No, no
stuff
doubt.
actually comes from. Because generally, I'm
Well,
happy
and
to
like,
put made in RSA on anything I make because I'm proud that it's made here.
yeah, and likewise, I think everybody's proud of wherever they're from. You're proud of it. And like, I mean, I get my screws
Yeah.
right now from Tie Connector in the US, and they make fantastic screws. Like, I have no shade to throw against them. They're doing
Yeah.
crazy good quality for the price. But like, if I can make it myself or make it in Canada, like that's, I don't know, it's just cool. It's cool to be able to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
No,
think the only
definitely.
things I don't make are the refills. Those are made in Germany.
Well, yeah.
And the O-rings. The O-rings, I'm pretty sure, are sourced from, I'm imagining. I mean, they're
Somewhere.
US, but they're probably not made in the US. I doubt. Maybe they are. Who knows?
Yeah, I
I don't
doubt
have the
it.
origin certificate on those, but
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, been doing
Okay.
that, and then see what else I got. Oh, I ordered some of our sweaters from our lovely web store.
Yes. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
they're
Danica already liberated that from the PayPal account. Any orders that come through for shirts or for Lone Machinist stuff, it comes through, it goes, we pay the fulfillment company. Whatever's left, she steals out of my PayPal account. So I don't go buy machines again.
Like, good for her.
Yes.
But yeah, they're actually, I was thinking for the price,
Yeah.
I assume they'd be very thin, like the sweater I'm wearing right now, which is just like eyelid skin thin.
Yeah.
Because the price was pretty low. So I'm like, this is going to be really low quality, but they're like, it's a heavy knit cotton. So they're way too friggin' hot for me to wear. So I'm going to take them to a seamstress and get a zipper put into them so that I can unzip them.
Okay.
Like, I can't wear it right now. It's way too hot. So
yeah. I'm getting some new shirts this week. And thank you to everybody who's been listening and has been buying shirts. It's greatly appreciated. I hope that you are enjoying them. Ash we met him at IMTS, Ash from Australia. He ordered 2 shirts this morning. So
nice.
Sent him a message to say thank you. And I thought I'd give him a shout out because I know he also listens because he was saying he's really enjoying the podcast. Yeah. So if you do want to support the podcast, you can pick up some of the podcast merch off of our online store at jspeceng.com. Or there's a link on the lonemachinists.com website. And then there's also a line of shirts that Danica has put up there for machinists. And there's some new ones coming. I've got some fancy shirts in the works. We can't get the vinyl we normally use or the new vinyl she wants to use. So I'm waiting for them to get stock so I can get new t-shirts for work because mine are getting a bit threadbare. No, yeah. I mean, the ones I'm wearing now are from IMTS. So they're definitely getting threadbare at this point. But I'm glad to hear that I'm glad to hear the quality's good on the hoodies.
Yeah, I think they actually, I think they skew it to wherever your country of origin is. Because
yes,
I mean,
so
yeah, like mine.
Yours was
from
fulfilled
Canada.
by. I thought it was fulfilled in Southern California when I tracked
it. It said it came from Canada, so I don't know. Anyways,
okay, because I know they've got fulfillment centers all over. So it's interesting to see how they're doing it. But yeah, it's one of the better, seems to be one of the better print on demand services. And with a really good turnaround time as well. Like I was quite impressed with their turnaround. Like especially for one-offs, it's a bit it's rather good service. Sweet. And then I see you are bulk blasting.
Yeah, so
I'm
for the longest time, I
curious.
mean, you've probably seen it a million times on like Instagram of guys just taking like essentially like a colander, putting it in their blasting cabinet, putting all their parts in there, just aiming the nozzle at it, rotating it, and just blasting away.
Yeah,
so
Gimbal Automation sell a thing for that.
Right? Yeah, they have a nice version, and I never did it in the past because I'm like, like the parts are going to ding against each other when they spin, and it's going to change because the blasting I use is not really like blasting; it's more of like peening, like shot peening. Yeah. It's not shot peening, but it's glass bead, and it's very light pressure, so it's not a very aggressive finish. Anyways, I have the one part I do, which is a slider. I do that for my pens just because it functions better that way. So I'm like, I'm going to try it with this. I don't care if all these get nuked, I can just make new ones. I don't care. Or I can just hand blast them all. So I made little masking plugs that would screw into them, threw them all into a hydroponic net pot because I didn't have a colander, but I had a bunch of these little hydroponic. Yeah. It's just like a pot with a billion little holes in it. And they're like $1 or $2 to buy, and threw them all in there. Just hand held it and just blasted it and spun it. Did them all perfectly. So yeah, it was like
Okay.
I did 30 parts in 5 minutes, as opposed to taking a minute per part to
Yeah.
hand do each one, or 2 minutes. Just like, yeah, I was, and they didn't scuff. Like, everything came out perfectly. So I was super, super pleased with that. So I might build an automated system for that, because that's really the only part I blast consistently. Kind of moving away from that for finishes, but for that specific part, nothing competes with that particular finish. So that's
Okay.
that was a huge time saver.
Yeah. Did you know that cable ties get tumbled in a tumbler? Like, noticeably worn in a tumbler.
Oh, really?
Yes. So,
I
back to the tumbling podcast.
Yes.
So I used the tumbler for what I actually built it for. So previously I was doing 20 parts at a time, and that was taking about 4 hours per batch. I did 120 parts at once in 1 hour. So I cable tied them all together.
Nice.
I just put a cable tie through the middle hole of everyone. So I bought cheap cable ties from the China shop, click it like 3 clicks, and then throw it in the tumbler. And then when I take them out, I cut them right at the knobby. That way I can reuse the offcut. Those things took a beating in an hour. I've got stuff in my dish rack in the kitchen now. I tumbled another 100 parts, bigger parts. Those went for about an hour and a half, but the pump is giving me shit on the recirculating water system. So I need to figure out what the hell's going on there now. But yeah, tumbler does the thing and does it really well.
Oh, that's awesome.
My media is disappearing though. Like, it is wearing away at a frighteningly fast pace.
Well, it makes sense for how aggressive everything is moving there. Like,
yeah, I took this much material. I took probably just over an inch worth of clay out of the bottom of my water tank when I cleaned it out.
Holy smokes.
Okay,
that's pretty
probably
aggressive.
have to buy new media every 2 or 3 months. Like, I am chowing through the media. Something silly. But it does the job. Like these drone parts I'm busy with now, so my first setup part, I ordered 6 pieces of material. I need to make 4 parts. So my first setup part did all the op ones. Set up for op 2, put the part in the wrong way. So I'm like, okay, it's fine. Just let it machine finish that I can check clearances on tools and all that stuff. So then I took that, I threw that in the tumbler. It had some things I didn't like, so I changed the way I was doing my finishing. Second part came off, pretty happy, threw it in the tumbler, and then I machined the other 4. And it's aggressive enough that it takes the tooling marks off, but not so aggressive that it rounds all the corners. Like, it runs really well with a few parts, but it does the job with 100 parts in it.
Nice.
And once again, Astro powder coating are knocking it straight out of the park. Dropped stuff on Friday morning. They don't run a shift on Friday. Got a phone call on Monday, middle of the day. We just want to confirm which is the front of your part, because we're racking them just on a wire, and we want to make sure there's a little line where the wire touches the part, and they want to make sure that is on the back side of the part. So I gave them instructions that afternoon. Here's your invoice. It's done. You can collect. They did 150 parts in one day. Like, their service is amazing. Like, I dropped off 800 parts there, and it was ready 2 days later. Like,
that's cool.
Their service is phenomenal. I can understand why my one customer uses them, because their service is just top notch.
Yeah, that's nice finding companies like that.
Yeah. No, so I'm picking the stuff up tomorrow. Then it's going to get put on the laser to engrave 60 parts. That Danica's not going to enjoy, but I won't tell her she's doing it until then. The nice thing there is the laser takes 1.5 minutes, so it gives you enough time to actually assemble the rest of the assembly while the part's lasering. So as it goes, you can just assemble and stack the parts. It's kind of nice. But that I want to want to get that out this week. I've got a meeting I've got to go to at that customer tomorrow for different project. So I'll go and talk nicely and take them their punch. They wanted a punch to punch their pop rivets.
How so?
Yeah,
like,
your face explains. Yeah, your face is great there. So it's on the diesel tank. So they think the guys are unriveting the diesel sensor and siphoning fuel out and then re-riveting it back in. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, I know I live in Africa, but come on. So they want to punch their company initials effectively. When the installing team installs the pop rivets, they want to basically punch initials into it so that they can go and look. And it's not going to be glaringly obvious that there's this giant thing on there. It's subtle. That just they know to look for it, and they can say, these are not our pop rivets. So yeah, they think that might be why diesel's being stolen or how it's being stolen.
That's a tedious way to go about it, but hey.
Well, I was chatting to them and they were saying, like, a lot of their guys, they won't put diesel sensors on their fleet. They'll put cameras or something else. And then they'll catch someone stealing diesel. And then all of a sudden, the entire fleet of trucks gets diesel sensors put on. It's really weird because they've been super quiet on that front for the last 4 or 5 months. And they're saying, no, they've done maybe 100 installs a month. They were doing 250, 300 before. So it's just that ebbs and flows, basically, is what the guy was trying to explain to me. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. My cash flow needs to not ebb and flow. Order stuff. Like, I don't really care. Like, I've kind of grown to this point. Ebb and flow. I've grown to this point by relying kind of on their business, which is less than ideal.
Right,
but, yeah, we'll move away from that now. Like, now that we know it's a potential issue, we can move away from it. That's also the point of spinning up the pallet system. Is it's just another revenue stream.
No, diversify that 100%.
Yeah, that's it. Like maximum diversification.
Absolutely.
And I think everyone I've spoken to seems to think the pallet system's got some serious potential. So we will see how much potential it has. Because my plan is to do a batch of like 10 for the first batch, and then I want to have them ready and say, okay, cool, they are now for sale. Buy them and we ship them. Like that.
Nice.
I don't want the additional stress of any other way of doing it.
Yep, I get that.
Yeah, because it does get a bit stressful.
No doubt.
Well, when is your next batch of pens coming out?
Probably. Let's see, what time is it now? Because I spent about a week messing around. After each batch, I try to spend like a week on like improving a process or doing something like in this case, fourth axis stuff, but we can talk about that next week because we're kind of running low on time.
No, we've got plenty of time. I need to hear about that.
Oh, okay. So the fourth, because
it looks
I want to move everything.
Sweet.
Thanks, man. I want to move everything over from because the little Grizzly is still doing the fourth axis work, and like the IsoGrip pens, I like doing them, but they just suck up so much time on that machine because it's all 1/16 ball nose finishing, and it's just, like I think each pen takes about 45 minutes of just finishing.
How many RPMs do you have on the Curt?
6,000, but I run it at 5,000 because she gets a little warm at 6. So 5,000 on a 16th tool is
that's slow.
Tool life is fantastic, but it's not exactly hustling. So the whole reason of buying this machine was to move around a lot quicker. But I have to find a way to hold on the fourth because the fourth is just a big table. But I did realize the inner of that fourth is ground, and it's pretty clean and concentric. So I built a sleeve for it, and I realized an R8 taper fit easily in there. So I built a sleeve with a matching taper, so that the R8 can pull against that sleeve. And I want that sleeve a little tighter in there. I might actually slit the sleeve so it expands with the taper, but that's a horse of a different color. How it's working right now, it should be okay. I want to test the run out, see how that is. And then I built a little drawbar for the back of it so I can just tighten a nut on the back of the tool. And that I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I was concerned if it was 2-part, I would be squishing any kind of bearings that are in there. But it's one piece. So the table casting goes through a tube, and the tube just sticks out in the back. It's got some screw bosses on it, and it's just solid. So I can clamp the life out of it. It's not going to hurt anything. Just machined all that up, put the taper in there. I actually have to test the run out today. But it holds a 3/8 beautifully well. The one problem is I have to put some sort of a clamping stop on the front to keep like when you loosen the taper, it binds in there tightly. But when you loosen it, it's all right. If you want to pop it out, it just pops the whole sleeve out with it, and the taper stays clamped. So I have to find ways to retain that sleeve. But it works really good. It should be rigid AF because it's a couple little clamps onto the table, would be nothing. But it's right inside the table, so like you're not going to get more rigid than that. So
it's super compact. I thought it was a 5C, and now that you say R8, I'm like, oh no, wait, you had a threaded rod in the end. Obviously, it's R8.
Yeah, like 5C I wanted to go, but it's just a little too small to squeeze a 5C in there. So the next call that I had was an R8. And I was like, hey, I
Yeah,
wonder if that'd fit. And it just, fit with loads of room. So, and I only have
nice.
to hold 3/8 is like the biggest bar I
Yeah,
hold. So
I'm
maybe half
assuming that
inch on the odd occasion.
R8 collet is kicking around from when you used to do turning on your mill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a
Yeah,
whole set of R8 collets and got rid of a bunch of them, but I just kept kind of the higher quality ones. And I was like, hey, I can use
yeah,
this. So,
yeah. No, that's
yeah.
convenient. No, it looks really really sweet. I'm super
Yeah,
keen to
thanks, man.
see how that goes together or how that comes together
Yeah,
when
it
you
should work.
start engraving on there.
I've never done single point manual thread work like ever on any machine.
Oh,
I mean, I
okay, yeah,
kind of did on my lathe. So I did them because I machined the little drawbar on the manual lathe while
yeah.
doing other stuff. But yeah, it worked out well. It's kind of fun. Like I said, I've never actually done it,
Oh,
which is
okay.
kind of cool.
No, I did
Been doing this
internal
trade for a while.
internal threading on a hardened part, chasing a thread. Yeah, so
Oh, fun.
hard
Yeah.
turning. Yeah, on not my own lathe, on someone else's lathe. Yeah, it was not fun. Eventually, got it all
Could you at
set up
least
that I
run the?
could run backwards, so I could thread
I'd say,
out.
could you
Yeah,
at least run backwards?
I, I can't actually remember if I was going backwards or forwards. I had a lighty holding a torch so I could see what I was doing because I'd made these parts and I made the tolerances nice and tight. They went for heat treats and they warped, and then they
Mm,
didn't fit anymore. So then I was like, no, I'll come and chase it at your workshop because I felt bad. Now I don't feel bad. If you don't give me a drawing,
nice.
you get what you get. Like,
Yeah, no
it
doubt.
went together when it left my workshop. Not my problem that it doesn't go together now. Like, because otherwise you end up just breaking yourself trying to solve other people's problems.
Yeah, no, I
And
routinely do
that's
that, so I try to avoid. I try to say no a lot more often now to
yeah,
everything.
yeah. No,
But
that's something I need to be a bit more diligent on is saying no to stupid shit. But when cash flow
uh,
takes a dip, you start taking on dumb things when you really, really shouldn't.
yeah,
But yeah,
I mean,
that's
I think the best lesson for me has just been like I said, calculate what I can make per day doing standard production, and then look at that value. And when I'm talking to somebody and they're like, "Hey, could you do this?" and I just look at that value, I'm like, "Are they going to pay me this?" It's like not a chance in hell are they going to pay that. It's like, okay, well then you have to say
well,
no. Say it politely.
yeah.
You don't have to say it mean, but like, yeah, I got to think about
I,
what my time is worth. Yeah.
well, can't fix stupid, but I can
Exactly.
charge for it. Um,
Exactly.
so no, I had a conversation with a guy today about they sell balers. So they obviously had a packaging baling cardboard. And the guy's like, no, they've got one for doing chips. And he told me the price and I laughed at him because I will never, ever, ever, ever recoup that amount of money selling shavings. Like it's not where my main business is. But we're
Hmm.
discussing the pallet systems and I'm like, I'm manufacturing the pallet systems. I'm paying myself pretty much better than I normally charge with our local rates here um, to manufacture them, and we're still making a profit on them. Like it's, I can put my time into doing that, or I can put my time into doing some stupid thing. Like now, while we were at
Right.
ProPack, I got a call from one of my customers. He's like, "Hey, can you please quote me on 8 of these things?" It's a part we've made for them a bunch of times. It's I want to say a 14-minute cycle, and 7 minutes of that is a stupid fillet. So I bought a corner radiusing tool last time I did a tooling order. The order hasn't
Mm,
come around again. Order came around today. 8 of each, please. Now I have the corner radiusing tool. I can cut 6 minutes out of that cycle on every single part. Price is still the
nice.
same.
Yeah.
And
Of
now I'm
course.
actually
Yeah.
ordering material that's the correct size, not 20 millimeters bigger. I don't know why I had
Hmm.
so much bigger material. Like it was really stupid. Um, and yeah, so now we're going to just chop cycle time on those and offer them a better product at the same price. Like I'm actually going to serialize them now because it's 2 parts that go together with little dog bones. And I want to
Mm,
serialize each one that if the guys do take it apart, I know that if they put all the ones from the same serial number together, it'll go back together because I do
yeah.
adjust the size on the dog bones and stuff every now and again. And I don't
Yep.
want it to be a problem when they're on the mine.
Yeah. No, fair
But
enough.
like, oh, Danik and I was sitting and I quoted that and then I quoted idiot sticks because the guys sold a bunch of idiot sticks. So they need me to make more. And just saying, you do realize sitting at we're literally having lunch at the show today when I did these quotes quickly. She's like, you do realize you've just quoted more than she used to earn in a month. And I'm like, yeah. And the best part is that whole job is a 1 day job. I can turn all that work out in
Yeah.
1 day.
That's
It's
awesome.
just, yeah, charge appropriately and you can afford to live comfortably. But Yeah, charging appropriately is not always an option here.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That's the problem with job shop work, is you sometimes end up racing to the bottom.
I get it. Yeah. Well,
And
like I said, it depends on your economy and your climate and everything. So yeah,
it depends on what the customer can tolerate.
Right.
The trick is to find out exactly how much they can tolerate and go just a little under that.
Yeah.
And maximize profits. But yeah, unfortunately, you can't always do that. Like I was saying to someone today, I'm directly competing with China on a bunch of the components I make.
Right.
And I'm putting China can suck doll. I'm fucking undercutting them hard. Like the guys literally, I was like, what are you paying for these? $5. Cool. I'll make it for $5. And you can have it next week.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Why not? Like,
and I'll put your logo on it for you. Like,
yeah.
And I'm running at a good shop rate and I'm undercutting China. But that's because we do things really, really efficiently. That's the only reason we can actually get away with that.
Yeah, well, that's the best way for companies to like succeed, is like all these companies like just you don't have to raise your prices, just like make it more efficiently. There's so many things. Yeah, there's so many things that are just made so poorly. It's just like you could do this so much better, and you wouldn't have to, that's it.
Like now, even these drone bits that I'm busy making, I made a fixture that goes in my vase. It's a bit of not the best setup, but I didn't want to commit a pallet. When they place a production order, then I'll run 4 at a time on a pallet.
Right.
No problem. But for now, they're placing order for 4 sample pieces. I'm not committing a pallet. Although a pallet is all of $5 worth of material. It's more just on brain power and principle that I don't want to do it. Like I sat this morning with John and spoke to him for like an hour and a half while I programmed this job. Because I went to try run it yesterday. Took one look at this thing, nope, not happening. I think it's got like 30 operations into machining this thing, because I've got to step down in different sections because I'm trying to rough out. Yeah, it's an unpleasant part, but it's all resolved now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's at least programmed. Do you want to do some calls to action there?
Yeah, for sure. I will.
And then we'll do the googly thing.
That sounds fantastic. So if you want to see my wares, confoundedmachine.com, there's a bajillion different links where you can find all the information your little heart would desire, and the Lone Machinists podcast.com for all the information around this show. And thank you for the Patreons that are listening. We very much, very much appreciate your support. Helps a ton. And Jamie, do you want to tell people where they can find your wares?
Yeah, first I'm going to shout out Jade from Benchmark 20, our Patreon, who's at the top tier and gets a shout out in the podcast. Thank you very much for your support.
Number one.
Yeah, number one. You can check out thelonemachinist.com. That's got links to our Patreon and our merch store, and that goes to supporting the podcast. And anything left over there is going to go towards us not staying in the south of Chicago for IMTS 2026, if the world still exists then. To check out my stuff, you can check out jspeceng.com. We've got the frame lock utility knife on our web store, along with some entertaining shirts, machinist related shirts, like I'm in a G84 till she mates. It's one of my favorites. There's a bunch there, and those will be changing every 4 months. There'll be a new couple coming to the store. So check out what's there. They're not going to be there forever. They'll leave and new ones will come in a few months' time. So, Curt, What have you been Googling this week?
Googling some non-machinist related stuff, because this podcast is forcing me to, or it's giving me excuses to spend money on things that I probably shouldn't really spend money on. So bought like a preamp mic or preamplifier for a microphone, and then bought some nice, like I've always wanted a pair of studio headphones, like just flat response curve studio headphones. And these ones are just the one I'm wearing right now. They're torch, like the little ear pads on them are gone. These are like 15 years old, the little Sonys. And I see tape on yours too.
Mine's taped together.
Yeah, ran them to death. So I found a pair of like fairly inexpensive studio headphones. And just for editing, like I'm always editing audio. And it's just like I put one pair of headphones on, test it, put another pair of headphones on, put them on my speakers. Like I was like, okay, I can either buy monitors, like speaker monitors, or I can buy a set of like studio headphones, which I can double dip for the podcast. So I just bought a set of those. Didn't buy like what I wanted. I don't think there's some Sennheiser like industry standard ones. but they're like $600. So I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna go a little cheaper right now.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, between that and then just some Airtable stuff, which I continue to love. I'm gonna have to try. I'm gonna have to like get my whole shop template set up in Airtable, but with like dumb data, and then upload it because it's so nice. Like I just had to get some information for whatever insurance purposes today, and everything was there. Like I have all my finances, all my just super convenient. So that's kind of what's been in my Google search for the last little bit. How about you?
Yeah, mine's interesting. I leave all my tabs open on my phone now. So every time I want to Google something, I just open a new tab. So I have the actual dimensions of a 2x4 because this little ruler is going to have making fun of 2x4 dimensions because 2x4s are not 2x4.
Nope.
And then, what a raspberry plant looks like because I'm adamant there's a raspberry plant in my front yard. It isn't, but I'm going to go and literally buy one and plant it because I told my mother-in-law it is, and I was arguing with her. So I'm going to transplant it to a different plant just so I can be right. Then Lang base plates from our local guys. 1/4-20 drill sizes because I was tapping 1/4-20 because, I don't know, camera equipment. And then sausage patties because I want to make... like breakfast sausage patties because I really like them and I want to make my own. And then,
nice.
Malanky Nanos because I had to set one up last night and I needed to disable mixing because by default it has mixing enabled and servo stretching had to be enabled. So I had to find the manual for it quickly. Like those things are silly easy to use. Like you literally put on channel 5 of your remote, a switch, and you power the Malanky on. Wait 5 seconds, power your remote on, toggle the switch the number of times for the setting you want to change. The light flashes that number of times and the setting's changed. That's it, done.
Oh, nice.
It's super interestingly done. Like really, really good. I forgot to talk about Beckhoff PLCs, but we can save that for next week once I've actually got pricing from them. Because apparently those aren't as expensive as I thought either. Today was a day of finding out the world isn't as expensive as I thought. Because everything I see is in relation to machining, and machining stuff is not usually cheap.
No.
Like even a cheap Lang base is like a couple $100.
Yeah. Well, those tiny end mills I bought, you'd think they'd be cheaper the smaller they get, but that's not how they work.
It's the opposite of that. Yeah, no, like the small stuff gets really, really pricey really quickly. I must say down to... yes, it's in banana mode. So like I keep on hand. No, that was right. 0.5. So I keep 19 thou ball mills on hand.
Okay.
Or 20 thou ball mills.
How's a 19 thou? What's a 19 thou?
0.5 millimeter.
2 mil or something? Oh, half. Oh, no, half. Yeah,
mil, yeah. So 0.25 radius. I keep those. I keep 0.5 radius, 1 mil radius, 2 mil radius, 3 mil radius, 1.5 mil radius. Like those I just keep in stock, 4 or 5 of them, but they're cheap. That's the nice thing. They are, I think, with tax, $6 each, $6.50 each. So I keep like 3 or 4 in the drawer at all times that if I break one, I have a spare. Because that is something that is invaluable, is having spare tools.
No doubt. Yeah. No, I try to run a pretty big plethora too, because same thing. They're cheap in comparison to the time you'd lose. Like
that's exactly
it. Might be a $30-$40 tool, but like, okay, well, you can now lose 2 days because you have to wait for it to come in. It's like, oh, that's way more than $30-$40. So.
Did I send you a picture or video of the Imperializer? It now does currency conversions as well.
I think you did, yeah.
Because then you can just change the conversion rate to be in Canadian rubles, and you can convert to USD.
Nice.
But I'm gonna still send you the code for this. It's super simple. I haven't got a set of key printouts for you, but that I can just email you that you can print and then cut it out and stick them under the keycaps. Yeah, I sent the keycaps are on the box, but the printout isn't. But anyway, we are now rambling. I think we're going to call it there. Thank you everybody for listening. Please do the like and subscribe things on YouTube, the review things on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you next week, maybe a day earlier if all goes to plan.
That's the goal. Take
care.
care all.